There's something very authentic about this dialogue between Sikhidhvaja and the Brahmana Kumbha. Sikhidhvaja knows the teachings. He wants to realize the truth of the teachings for himself. He's devoted himself to a spiritual path, the spiritual path of renunciation. But this path isn't going to get him there unless he follows it in a subtler way than he can comprehend, than he can possibly comprehend. It's not about giving up all your external effects. It's about giving up the notions which you're attached to. And it's very tricky. I think most people who read the Yoga Vasishta are in Sikhidhvaja's position. They see these teachings, they know that there's something to them, they don't quite get it, and they want to know what they can do to get it. So they might get on with their meditation and reading up on other spiritual teachers and their teachings, trying to get themselves into the zone. But none of that's going to help. All Kumbha has got are words. She sees that Sikhidhvaja is earnest, and she wants to guide Sikhidhvaja to the truth, if it's at all possible. Sikhidhvaja said, "I know that I am pure consciousness. How this impurity, ignorance, arose in it, I do not know. I am distressed because I am unable to get rid of this impurity, which is not self and unreal." Now, there are two possibilities here. When Sikhidhvaja says, "I know that I am pure consciousness," is he asserting this from the point of view of belief? This is his understanding. Or is it from his own direct realization? In other words, is he still a seeker, or is he a spiritual practitioner? Once you realize the truth that you're pure consciousness, you still have all your tendencies to deal with. And so he's struggling. I am distressed. I think we should assume here that he's actually reached some kind of understanding. I know that I'm pure consciousness. But knowing this is when the struggle begins. What could be called your impurity or ignorance takes you away from this truth. And it is distressing, because you've got the understanding that once you know the truth, you're going to be permeated by bliss. There's going to be this upsurge of bliss, and everything's going to be rosy. It's not like that at all. Once you know the truth, then you realize the enormity of the task ahead. This is why saintly people often describe themselves as sinners, because they actually see the truth of themselves in the light of the truth. It's not that they're putting themselves down. They're actually being honest. It's not false modesty on their part. They actually see the scope of the struggle. They see the forces ranged against them. I suppose there's an analogy here with Christ's temptation when he was in the wilderness and Satan came to tempt him, and Jesus had to keep coming back to the truth of his own nature and not be tempted by Satan. This is the magnitude, this is the scale of the struggle. But let's see how Kumbha deals with this. Kumbha asked, "Tell me of that impurity, ignorance, on account of which you are an ignorant man, bound to this samsara, is real or unreal." So rather than reject this ignorance, we look at it, we examine the true nature of its authority, its power over us? Is it actually real? I've expressed it there in terms of Jesus and Satan and put it onto this mythological, grandiose scale. But on the other hand, maybe there's no struggle whatsoever. Maybe this is the struggle we're creating. So Kumbha asks if that impurity, ignorance, on account of which he's bound to samsara, is real or unreal. Sikhidhvaja replied, that impurity is also the ego sense and the seed for this big tree known as chitta, mind. I do not know how to get rid of it. It returns to me even when it is renounced by me. He doesn't answer the question, does he? He doesn't answer whether it's real or unreal, because this is the problem he's got. It's a very real problem. This thing is taking him away from realization. Even when he drops it, it comes back. Kumbha said, the effect arising from a real cause is self-evident at all times everywhere. Where the cause is not real, the effect is surely as unreal as the second moon seen in diplopia. The sprout of samsara has arisen from the seed of ego sense. Inquire into its cause and tell me now. She's not giving up. She's wanting him to address the issue of the reality, or otherwise of this ignorance. We get this mention of the second moon seen in diplopia, which we have to assume is some kind of astigmatism or something. I had a look for this diplopia. It's not in my dictionary and I couldn't find it in the internet, so it must be a local phenomenon. But it obviously gives rise to some kind of double vision. So the sprout of samsara has arisen from the seat of ego sense. Are these ideas? If they're only ideas, what is the reality underneath them? What is the reality underpinning them? This is what Kumbha is asking Sikhidhvaja to look at.